You're listening to Just 3 Clicks, and this is episode 18. 2020, Covid-19, and the year ahead. Part 2. We talked about this a little bit last time, me and David.
Yeah, was that what the session previous?
Wondering if Mindy's just...
2020, or are we saying 2021 and COVID? Because I think what I've seen is it's all to talk about what work life will be like post-pandemic, is it?
Yeah, so I think Nindy's confused me here because the title says 2020, but actually it says in the episode last time we talked about the review of 2020, and we're turning our attention to 2021 and the year ahead. So talking about Biden and a couple of other things here. What's your thoughts on last year anyway? Because we talked to David about it.
Do you know? Yeah, actually, well, because we're in our third lockdown now. I'm more frustrated with this one than I was on the previous ones. The previous ones, like the first one, almost a bit of novelty to it. And I was like, right, I got to spend time. It was summer. Second one, bit frustrating. This one, I'm extremely frustrated. Plus, I think as well, I mean, I had an argument. Well, I'm in a group on WhatsApp with fellow mountain bikers. Some of the people in there I know, some of them I don't. And what happens... Well, we can't at the minute because we're in lockdown, but with mountain biking, you can just go, right, I'm going to go and ride that mountain or that fell. And other people will be like, yeah, I'll come with you. And you'll end up being in a group of like 5 or 6 riders and you might not know them all. So we're in this, I got added to this WhatsApp group with loads of different riders. And one thing last night, actually, it turned into like almost an argument in there of like... And it was those that were like pro-lockdown and those that were against lockdown. And I don't think anyone's against it, but it's just what is perceived to be correct and what isn't. And all about, because when you're riding a bike, can you go out on your bike solo and riding? I think it all started where there was an article about the Lake District saying the fells up there should be locked. You shouldn't be allowed to walk up them in lockdown. But that for me doesn't make sense. It makes sense for anybody that lives outside of that area. Like, of course, you can't be travelling around, but it's almost like, and I can't believe people are pro not exercising, because that's how I see it. It's like, if someone wants to go and walk up a fell by themselves, how can we not be pro that? That's got to be a good thing.
I've just seen this advert where they talk about how if you exercise, you're not safe from the virus if you're exercising, basically. And I understand what they're saying, but at the same time, we probably should be trying to exercise, because we don't want to just sit there, do we?
On this article, that the way it came to pass about the fells and should they be locked, there was a comment on it, and this is how the argument started in the group, because someone had screenshotted it and put it in and said, what are your thoughts on this? And it was a mountain biker, I didn't know him, who had commented on the article saying, he said something along the lines of, if I want to get my bike and go and ride up a fell to exercise, to be healthy, why is that a bad thing? The government should be promoting healthy eating, exercise, getting healthy. That obviously improves your mental health as well. And not, hey, if you look at the adverts on TV now, I mean, the Just Eat advert is probably one of the biggest circulated adverts on every channel I watch. And it's that, like all these, restaurants or whatever and takeaways, they can still, you can go to these, you can go and buy food and whatever, but you can't walk on a fell on your own. I think I saw another thing as well. But again, this is technically, against the rules, but it was a sad thing to read where I lived, there was the local police for the area. I think it covered Preston as well. They'd put a piece in the paper about incidents they'd attended to over the weekend. That were breaking rules, and I think there was like over 400 incidents. Now, some of it, like some that I read,
in what area? Just in one area?
I think it was based around the entire county.
All right, okay.
But what was interesting was, of course, there's things going on. There's a house party here. They broke up. Yeah, that's wrong. That can't be happening. And they're all breaking the rules. That even the one I'm about to say. But there was one that kind of made me a bit sad, and there was 10 young lads or kids playing football on a football field.
Yeah.
And the police had gone and basically sent them all home. And I was thinking to myself, I read that article while I was watching Leicester against Everton last night on TV, and I was thinking, these kids who are, the budding footballers of the future, because I was football mad as a kid, they're sat watching TV now, and they're watching 22 footballers play a game of football. They go out onto the park with the friends to kick a ball about and get told, you're not allowed to do that, go and sit in your bedroom. And it just goes against that whole, the kids of today, this generation are all stuck to devices. They should be outside kicking football.
Yeah, it's opposite, isn't it? Because I remember when I was a kid, like, if I wanted to stay inside and play my
You'd be told
Nintendo,
to get out, wouldn't you?
it'd be like, don't play video games, just go outside. But now it's like, that's what it is.
They're being told to go in, and I get that it is the rule, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong, and technically that is the correct thing to do. But you've got to think, how is that affecting a 12-year-old kid mentally? If that's how old they are, I don't know how old they were. Like, they're just going to be they're conditioned to think they can't do things like that forever.
I think we have to look at things sometimes like in a really, like a top-down view. So it's like our generation. Yeah. Like, we've gone through a really weird phase in our generation because we've gone from having literally very little technology to having basic internet, super fast internet. Now we're connected on a grid. We're going to probably go all the way through to like being connected to AI in our lifetime. Whereas our children don't know anything about that stuff. So with the way they're growing up now is probably they're just going to adapt to it, and that'll be their life basically.
100%.
But think about the next generation. So if you think about your grandkids, that's going to be fucking well weird.
It has to be AI driven completely. Then
it's just a different
it was
world.
a good, without going off on a tangent, there's a good episode on Joe Rogan's done the Elon Musk interviews, and the second one I listened to only a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, the Neuralink stuff.
Yeah, and I just thought, that is the fact that they can make a blind person see.
That's amazing. It's good. But it's also kind of weird.
Want to test it.
Like, there's parts of it that are like, that's cool. But then Elon's talking about like how we could like send thoughts to each other in our heads. Yeah,
the conversations would be irrelevant.
That's
because all we do is make sound to put across a thought. But if you think about it, which he made me really think about this, it is inefficient, because when you say something to someone, sometimes you don't get the whole thing across, do you, properly? Like your thought and your idea, you're like, oh, I've got an idea. This is the idea, and you explain it in sound. It's like, yeah, good idea, but you're in your head, you're like, yeah, but you're not getting the idea. Maybe that'll fix that. And that, if you think about it as well, we now conversate more via text message probably than speaking. And that can be misconstrued really easily.
Yeah. I think our generation is probably going to suffer from this the most, because we're having to change dramatically. Like,
we are, yeah.
I don't know what's next, but it's all a little bit weird. You know, like, we're very fortunate with Viddyoze because it's like, you know, we can just work online and it kind of just ticks along. But everything else outside of work is a bit strange right now.
It is.
So
it doesn't feel like it'll go back to normal.
No, like, there's a point here just saying we're pretty much now living in post-pandemic and we can't go backwards. And basically this is the new world.
It is.
There's a couple of books.
It's hard to accept that in my brain, but the writing's on the wall, isn't it, really?
There's some very good books. There's Orwell's 1984.
I bought that, but I've not read it.
It's absolutely amazing.
I might have to read that next.
He wrote this book in 1948.
Why was it called 1984?
Because this is what he thought would happen by the time we got to 1984.
Right.
He was wrong. It's happening now. But his predictions weren't necessarily predictions. It's like he knew.
Is it a story, or is it just his thoughts?
It's like it's kind of like written as a story,
right.
In a way.
Yeah.
But it's like his kind of vision of the future, and you know, he's kind of nailed it basically about surveillance and the way, you know, humanity would be restricted, and technology as well. There's another book called Brave New World, which I think was written in the 60s, if I'm right, and that in that book, he talks about how we're going to have these smart devices basically. So he calls them like telescreens.
Like our phones.
But so he doesn't know the word for it, but he'll call them telescreens, and how we'll be able to talk to them and they'll listen to us, and we'll be like surveyed through our devices and shit. It's amazing, to be honest, like really good books. And I guess it's like, back then, if you read that book back then, you'll be like, this guy's a quack. And that's what I find quite interesting, because there's books like that now about probably the next 10 years that we probably think are like absurd, but they might not be.
On about the phone thing as well, and that's made me think differently that we're already living as part of AI, aren't we?
Yeah.
That we're an extension of it now with the phone. And I think, well, Elon Musk said, if you leave your phone at home, you feel like you've left a part of your body at home. And it's weird how that feels, because you think, oh, I forgot something. What is it? Yeah, phone. I need to go back and get it.
We are totally reliant on our devices, and like I've gone through a bit of a purge on my phone.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a conspiracist. Like everybody knows it in the office. But like I watched Snowden about a week ago.
Is that the documentary?
They made a film about it, but there's a documentary as well. They're both on Prime.
I saw that last night because we were looking for a documentary, and I saw it and I thought,
Is it called Thought Crime?
No, maybe. It just says Snowden on it.
So that's the film. So that's the film.
Right.
And it's really good.
I might watch that tonight, because Saskia doesn't know anything about that.
Well, I didn't either. And I was just blown away at how mental, like, that whole thing is. And, like, it's just, like, you can't get away from it because it is what it is. But what it's about is how, like, we live in our devices that much now that so that the NSA can basically turn my camera on. It's not that they turn it on, it's just on. Yeah. So if they wanted to tap into our conversation right now because we've said, I don't know,
they can
terrorism, like that's what they claim that the technology is for. Is like, so Snowden built the engine for the searches basically, and then it got used so that they could search a term and it would show everything that's happening based on that term basically. And it's just there. You can just watch it live. It's pretty scary, really. Like, and it kind of makes me understand why we have cameras on the fronts of our phones, because they could essentially just look at what we're doing. It's all quite bizarre. See,
really. That sounds outrageous to someone that hasn't, been exposed to any information on that side of it or any thoughts or ideas on that side. But it's plausible, isn't it? I mean, it has a camera there.
I mean, that's what he discovered. That's why he ran away to Russia, and that's why he lives there now. So it's all mental. Like, and if you put it into perspective with where we are now, we're living in a world where there's a big divide between people. You've got people who want to maintain their liberties and freedom and don't want to get vaccinated, and they want to just be free the way we were. And then you've got other people who are that scared of this virus that they just want to be a part of that program basically, and just adopt the new world so that everyone's safe. And I guess that's kind of like where we're at, is like you've got a massive cultural divide amongst everyone,
which is getting worse as well.
Yeah,
like arguing in WhatsApp groups. I wouldn't have argued in a WhatsApp group ever before, and I stopped myself and I thought, what am I doing? I'm not.
People are arguing in families.
Yeah.
Like, I know people's families that are just like, oh, well, you shouldn't come over, and oh, you shouldn't go there, and I don't want you to come here, and all of this, and it's like, wow, that's mental, really. But
the divide's only getting wider on that. How do you think? So if we think of 2021 and this year, obviously the way we run our business, I mean, there's stuff that's the same prior to 2020, but I would say, it's probably more remote than it has ever been. Well,
it reminds me a bit of like
16, 17, we were kind of remote anyway, but with a bigger team. How do you think it'll play out this year?
I don't know. Like, if you think back to like when we were in Regis, we had like loads of people in the office then.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that was that great, to be honest. It was almost like too busy.
It was, yeah.
Then, when we came here, it got busy, and I don't know, like it almost just seems like it's the same in a way.
Yeah, it does.
There's obviously like most of the girls aren't here. Like they're all kind of away. I'm not saying that it's just the girls. Like some of the girls do come in sometimes, but it's it's the vast majority of people in it now are just like, so we've got video people, and just us guys.
Yeah. It's only the people that need to be here to do.
Yeah, to do the job,
to check on stuff and use certain machines, but
it's like a podcast. Like we can't do it to this quality. We couldn't do it if we were just
no way. And do you know what? You can see the difference in. I'm using him as an example because I've just been listening to loads of his podcasts. Is Joe Rogan? He's got a couple that since obviously they went into a lockdown that he's done on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I don't really watch the YouTube videos. I'll listen to it when I take the dogs out. And the difference between one where he's sat across from somebody to one that is on Zoom is huge. You almost want to turn the Zoom ones off because there's delays. There isn't really personalized camaraderie that they get as well, where they just go off on tangent.
Yeah.
They go down little rabbit holes that are quite interesting, and when they're on Zoom, they don't do that as much because
it's like when Elon and Joe Rogan are in the same room.
Yeah.
Those are quite funny.
Yeah,
because he's quite an odd character.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
It takes him a bit of time to like loosen up in the room, and it's quite funny.
Yeah, there's one with a guy called Peter Schiff, and I actually listened to the entire thing, and it's all about the economic impact, which is going to be huge as well.
Yeah.
But that's done on Zoom, and I listened to the entire thing because what Peter Schiff was saying was really interesting. And then, but it was frustrating because Joe Rogan would challenge him on something, but it'd be just over shouting him because of the delay. And I was thinking, this is kind of annoying because Joe Rogan's got a good point here, and I want to see what his view is on this point and why, how he would deal with this. I think one of the questions he had was, if the governments are doing it wrong now with printing money and all of that, then Peter Schiff, you're in charge. What would you do? How do we fix it? But he wasn't answering it properly because of the delay, and then he was shouting and going off on another point. But it was an interesting one, but it's really hard to listen to, and it's like that. So
yeah, I think that's one of the problems that I think a lot of content creators are going to have is, is there going to be a point where we can't do this? Like, I don't know. Like, we'll find a way around it, but
because we've been doing it, haven't we? It's an essential thing that we come in. I mean, talking about lockdowns and things, one thing that I've learned from it, because I've been, we're in the office, not every day, we work from home, but we come in for certain times when we need to be in, such as, we have a board meeting. We can't really do the board meeting over a Zoom call because of the issues with delay.
It's the length as well.
Yeah,
the length of those meetings, like they're 3-4 hour meetings.
Yeah, so we all come in, and there's times when, a few of us will be in to do a meeting or do something we need to do. But what I've found since doing that as well, because it's a different way of working, because previously it was like, right, wake up Monday to Friday, office for 9, finish at 5, and you have that 9 to 5 structure. But I've looked at it, and I've been looking at it for the past kind of few months. That is not efficient at all to like your lifestyle. And when I say efficient, I mean, let's say you work out, let's say you have hobbies, you have families, you have other commitments. That 9 to 5 period is just not efficient to any of that. And I found my life since, especially the third lockdown, because we've kind of had to adapt differently with homeschooling, my life's way more efficient now with the way it is than it was when I would do more, like having the structure I have now as far as productivity than I would just coming in every day 9, leaving at 5. Yeah. It's like I don't even know how it happens, but you seem to lose time more when you're on that old 9 to 5 structure. So I think it's a positive that this, because obviously it's all going to change for not just our business, but any sort of tech business that can work, that has the ability to be remote, they're all going to adopt. I don't think it'll go back to 9 to 5, especially in tech. I think the majority might stick and stay remote.
Yes, I think right now most companies are kind of adopting working from home.
Yeah.
Like, if you can, I think most companies are going to probably be in a situation where it's like, if they're finding that they can actually just operate without having a building, that's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah. It'll save them money. It has massively. To be. But I think obviously the downsides to it is, well, collaboration's almost, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's extremely hard to do if you're all remote. You need to, and again, that's why, like a board meeting today, it's really important that we're not just on Zoom. We can have a free-flowing conversation, because that's how you collaborate. And I think it needs to be a bit of both, because we need to collaborate on projects, ideas, campaigns. That's really hard to do on a call.
Problem with Zoom is like you got to wait for someone to finish
yourself,
talking.
and then when you know it's gone quiet enough, and that's not a conversation, is it?
No.
We're all just talking at each other at that point.
Yeah, that doesn't work. So, no, I think that aside, obviously, we're pretty much adapting to, we're just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah.
In terms of like what's next for Viddyoze, I don't know. Like, I guess we just answered that really. Like we're just going to kind of go with
the flow type thing.
Yeah, whatever kind of restrictions or whatever else come by. I guess we'll just have to adapt and just see what happens. But the business is in a good place, so I think we're doing fine in that regard.
Yeah.
So we got revenue stuff, software offering. Why do you want to grow the teams? And what's the plans with kind of the growth in the business, I guess, for the rest of the year?
I think one of the initial things, because I've just had that conversation with Simon as well, which is clear. We're kind of at a point now where our team's expanded. We've got loads of different things on the go at once, but as a collective of just three of us, we're trying to manage all of these different things, and it's not efficient. So I think growing the team, it's probably going to be to replace elements of what we're currently managing so that we can build people, we've got people in the workforce now that can step into them roles and are already doing that, but definitely bringing people in that can take off some elements of what we're doing, because we wouldn't be able to grow any further if we didn't do that, I don't think.
No.
I think it's pivotal we offload some projects or some things we're good at to other people over time. It won't happen overnight, but
yeah, I think for me, like, I just want to find a way for the team to kind of take on anything that I'm doing, really.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've got Maya that's going to start shooting ads. I think this week she's shooting a new ad. So that'll kind of move me away from having to shoot ads and that kind of thing. Nindy's planning content. Dan's looking after video. So, you know, it's just, you know, I work with Nick to make sure we're doing all the landing page stuff. So I guess it's the same with you and David, like, just trying to find the components to make the business move without us necessarily having to, like, do it.
Yeah, I think an example as well that I used just a moment ago when I was speaking to Simon was, because I've historically managed, say, our email marketing, all the emails that get sent out, automations. That is extremely time consuming. Like, to set up an onboarding automation can take days, weeks, because of all of the creation, all of the email writing, but then figuring out the logic and making sure it's right, testing it all, does it work, right, switch it on, right, watch it, have we got any failures? We've recently I've been working with someone else on that at the minute, and it's been refreshing to know that even though I'll be working on other bits, like I might have a webinar I'm doing, and that'll take me a week or two to kind of create and be ready for that, I know that automation side of it hasn't stopped, because historically it would have done it. It'd be like, right, I've got to do this, I'll just have to wait. 2 weeks go by doing something else, and it's right, let's get back to that. But then you're 2 weeks further behind on that, so it's not efficient. So now I've got someone that is helping kind of push that along even when I'm busy. There's other areas, though. I think that's what this year is all about, trying to find who fits into these different areas. Because, like I say, there's people on our team now that probably fit into some of these areas in some ways. We just haven't tried it yet.
Yeah. I think it's like, we've got some really good people. Like, Nindy's doing a good job. Nindy's probably listening. You know, he's doing a good job of, like, kind of stepping into that role. Obviously, Katie's doing a good job on the support side and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's going to be good. Like, trying to find the talent at this time is going to be quite good. It's probably going to be hard as well at the same time, because we can't get him in here necessarily.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, that's going to probably pose a couple of challenges, I think, to get people bedded in properly. But you know what, Nindy's not been coming in, and he's doing
the guy I'm working with on all the email stuff, he's in the UK, but he's never been in the office. What I found quite good with that is, what we do a lot of is calls, like regular calls, to make sure, right, this is what's happening. Trello, which we never previously used, we've only just set up a board on there. I don't know why we've not done it sooner, because pretty much our design and content without Trello wouldn't move, would it? No one would know anything.
No, there's too much going on. So.
And then, of course, Slack. So pretty much with Slack, you're always online. So if you just need something quick, it's quite easy to do. I think I think that's probably the most important thing. I've been using, is it Loom as well? I don't know if you know. Yeah. So I use that.
Is that like the screen?
Yeah. So if you it's just so much easier to use that than, say, like ScreenFlow, because it's like, right, I found an issue with this automation. I can explain it in Slack, but it won't understand everything I'm saying. Right, click record, bang, and as soon as you've hit stop, it gives you a link straight away to share. Yeah. So that again has been a bit of a game changer on that side. Because we're not.
I might start using that for the design stuff.
Very good.
It's normally annotating designs. It's probably easy to actually just do a video.
Yeah, because you can walk through, and I've never gone through and used it. I don't know if you can use a pen, but I assume you can use a pen to say, yeah, this worked.
Yeah. I might check that out. So yeah, there's obviously we've got hires, but then we've got blocks.
Yeah.
Which should be big.
Huge.
We've been talking about it for a while now, but we've just been. I mean, Ben's been working on it. You saw what Ben did, didn't you?
Yeah, it's good.
Like Ben's put together like this amazing kind of like demo of how blocks is going to work, and it just like it's probably the most prepared a product has been, really.
Yeah, from the foundation, 100%. Yeah.
So I think that's going to result in a really.
It doesn't feel like we're rushing it.
No.
Whereas previously, things have felt more rushed. But I think rushing's good because it gets the job done. But with this, it feels like it's a calmer approach. But we've not got.
Well, we're saying June, so we've got a while.
Yeah.
Like 6 months on it.
Yeah, it is. Well,
if that's what we decide anyway, but who knows? What about personal goals? Like, what do you want to do like this year?
I've my biggest thing this year. So last year, one thing that like pretty much transformed my because obviously we all get stressed. We all have, I suppose, anxiety, mental health issues in different ways. One thing that kind of really alleviated my mental health last year was taking up mountain biking. Completely transformed. So and I try and do it every week. Sometimes it's not possible. I'll just go up a mountain, throw myself down it, and that it almost feels like the entire week's worth of stress is gone. And
does it not? I'm just not good with heights and that.
The fear factor is what I think the fear is what I crave in that moment, and that's because when I'm afraid going down, I could go over the handlebars here, I could go off the side. You're not thinking about the stress anymore. So, but it is fun as well. But then, so I did that last year, and then what I found by the end of the year, and this is more of a personal goal on a health reason, was, and I think lockdowns probably aided this, put on a bit of weight, and I was thinking more weight than usual, and I could tell with the way I would do things. And the way I tell is being unfit, and I hate being unfit. It's not necessarily about how I look in the mirror. It's about when I'm on a bike and I go and ride with others, I'd be way off the pace, and I'd be able to do the ride, but I wouldn't be at the front, which is annoying because I like winning. And then I'd feel like it was twice as hard for me than them, and it's just because they were bike fit, and bike fit is if you're just on your bike all the time, your body adapts to it. So I said, like, this year, a personal goal, I want to get incredibly bike fit, so I'm at the front of these rides if we ever can group ride again. But also as well, I've got quite into endurance stuff, running. I picked that back up again. That's my main personal goal this year, is to just be fitter. I want to get my VO2 max to an incredible state that's not where it's good now, actually. Like, I've marked it, I've got it tested the other night. It's good, but it needs to be superior. That's where I want to get to. Personal goal is that, and then of course, business wise, moving this forward and going to the next stage. Because last year was, I mean, I can't even put into words last year, really. It's like there's a mega negative element to it, but then our business has never been this successful, has it?
No.
Ever in 5 years. Like, it was
it's the most stable that it's ever been.
Yeah, most
when I say stable, I mean like consistent. Like, there's consistent figures. It's like we've got a predictability to the numbers, and I think we've never had that before.
Yeah, and I think the growth as well. Like, I know we sometimes will because we always question growth and where we're at, but I mean, if you have a look at the numbers and you look at what we're doing now, you know, every month, what we did in 2020, it's a weird position to be in. So when you're speaking to your friends, your family, and what they're doing, a lot of the major worries they have is, what's my, you know, what am I doing in my job? Am I going to get furloughed? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? We've not had to deal with that.
No.
I mean, we haven't furloughed any staff either. I mean,
no.
Our business, everybody that is part. I mean, we've hired people.
So we've grown last year.
It's a weird situation to be in.
It's looking at Slack. Like, we've got 61 people in Slack.
Yeah, it's mega, really. And then so you have that, but then we will feel the mental health issues of what the world is doing right now and what everybody else is feeling. Yeah,
I think it's business-wise, it's all been good. I just think my anxiety's gone worse. Like, over the last year.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Like, I think at the start of lockdown, I felt so different to now. Like, I was like, this is not gonna phase me. I'm gonna stay fit. nail business,
Yeah.
still going to hit all my goals. I'm just not going to let it touch me. But it's just not realistic. Like it's beat me down a little bit.
Yeah, is it? I mean, one thing I felt is like you almost feel like you've been caged in, even though.
Yeah.
Do you know what my life? The major changes in my life is we're not in here every day, work from home, but that's fine because we did it previously anyway. So that is what it is. Homeschooling my kids, that is a massive change. That's been more stressful and frustrating on this third lockdown because it's all changed.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, we travelled a little bit, but we didn't over the previous. I suppose we did. So that's gone. That's a big change. But other than that, there is no major changes. I wouldn't go out at a weekend to nightclubs and bars all the time. I just wouldn't do that normally anyway. But for some reason, I have this feeling that I just want to go to the pub with my mates. But I would never have done that before. Like, it'd be rare occurrences. And I think it's just because you can't do it. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Like, I used to bounce around all over the place.
Yeah. Well,
like,
yeah.
Going to Manchester for a bit, going to Central for a bit, and just,
do you think that's what's made it?
Yeah, I think that's probably not been great. My gym routines was paramount to my lifestyle. So I'd be in the gym 6:30 in the morning, work out, shower, work, and it was like that was my routine. So I've got my gym and that at home. Also, I've been on a bulk as well, which is like hard to do mentally because it's like you're just putting weight on, and you just look worse every day. So it's like, it's hard doing that. And then at the same time, it's like, fuck, I've not got a proper gym. So I've got to start my cut on Monday. And it's like, I've got to do it with this very limited setup. So I don't even know how good that's really going to be. But I'm trying to get my head into that. I think that will help a lot. Business-wise, it's fine. It's just, I miss doing certain things. Yeah. Just like going places.
Yeah, well, there was events that we go to every year. And those all stopped.
So, yeah, even little trips to like Web Summit and that they used to be good just to get out,
meet up with affiliate marketers in London, and there was Ireland, we did Barcelona was the last one. That was an IM event, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was obviously that was a really good event actually, wasn't it?
That was a year and a half ago.
Mike Fulsame and all that was quite good. Yeah,
it was good. But then I think that those are the main things. Do you know what as well? I think mentally as well, it's hard with the media as well, because you've got to turn. For me, I don't watch the news, and at the very beginning, I'd watch it, and it just felt like everything was fear and negative and scaremongering almost, which it is because everything is. You turn Sky News on or BBC, there is nothing positive on there at all. Nothing anymore. It is always this is bad, it's getting worse. The government are handling it like this. It's getting worse. So you turn the news off, but then you just see it all on Facebook, and you see the divide, and you have your own opinions, but you don't want to put your opinions out there because you just end up getting into arguments with your mates or whatever. Yeah, I just know the only release I have is getting out and either going for a run and a bit to gym or getting on the bike. Really, that's it.
I've just been going so where we live in the UK, we've got an area called the Lake District, which is probably one of the nicest places in the UK, really.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But that's all I've been doing. It's going to the lakes, like, every couple of weeks, hitting a different lake, walking with the dogs.
It's surprisingly massive for mental health, really. That.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be in the nature and that. And I think the biggest problem with anxiety, stress, is just you're always thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
And the thing is, none of us know what's next.
No, we
So
don't.
that's why we're all just a bit like, it's all like, just like living in limbo a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
what's your personal goal for this year then? If you take business out of it?
Getting back into my leanest shape is like a big one. So that would be good. That would keep my head into something.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things, isn't it? Because
now, it's like
that, the strictness of that. It's mountain biking helps me, but it's not strict. Like, I could go biking tomorrow, or like last week, very busy week, we had loads to handle in the business. There was no time for me to do it. So I can miss a week, and then when I go out again, it's like, oh, right, I've had the release now. But yours is totally different. You are on that strict.
Yeah.
You can't just miss it one day, can you? Or even one morning.
Nah, it's just the right calories, same calories every day, and then work out. Yeah. Hit the regime every day. But I like it. It gives my day order. So it's like, I know that's in my control.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, like nothing can change that, basically. Like it's just my thing. No one's going to disrupt it. And I think that's what helps anxiety, is when you've got a bit of a structure to things. So that's one thing. And then just reading more as well. I'm reading quite a lot into like ancient, like just randomly, like ancient philosophies, ancient religion. So I just find that really interesting. So I'm spending a lot of time reading that.
Reading's a big one for me. That's another thing I said at the beginning of January. So like that 1984 book I bought last year, I was buying up physical books. And if someone mentioned something on a podcast and I was liking what they were saying, on a Joe Rogan one, Peter Schiff, perfect example. He wrote a book called Crash Proof. Crash Proof 2.0 is his updated version. I bought it while I was listening, and I buy all these books and I'm firing on the bookshelf and I'm not reading them all, but I like immediately. And I said, you know, after Christmas, right, this year I'm going to try and get at the minimum 2 books read a month. So by the end of the year, I've read 24.
Do you reckon you can get through 2 books in a month?
Yeah. I'm at that right now. So, but like the difference in what I'm reading,
physically reading.
So, yeah. But you have to read every night, or when you get a moment, sat on the couch. If you know the kids are watching something, I'll not put I'll usually have my phone and I'll be looking at it. I'll just pick and read a few pages. But like diversity in what I've read as well. So like this year, I've read the biography for that NIMS. That's just done the K2 winter, so I've read that. That was good. Read that fast. I've read a book on, what's it called now? It's like Under the Black Flag. It's called, and it's literally the history of pirates. So it has no basis on anything. But I thought, well, I'll have a read and see what these were all about, and it was actually quite interesting, quite heavy reading. And then I've got the next ones on the side, Crash Proof, which I'm about quarter through. So I'm on my 3rd one this month, which will go into next month. But then I've got the other one was a King of Capital, which is all, and I've nearly read that. Who's the guy that's behind? And I'd put it down about 3 months ago, so I can't remember what he's head of now. But he's a PE equity firm, like the boss of all that. But yeah, I just try and be diverse with it. I think I've mentioned before Ryan Holiday. Yep. He's like. He's probably the only person I open and read his emails. Like we all have people we read. I think he's one. He kind of inspires me to read stuff because that's all he does. But he's heavily into that, ancient wisdom, and so I've got the books of, like Seneca and
like Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, and I've not read them. I've just bought them based off of. I know he had a reading list, and I just bought everything on it and put them on the side.
He talks about meditations.
Stoic,
Marcus Aurelius.
Is that how you pronounce it? Stoic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's all on that, heavily on that.
The one I've read it's called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That's good.
Yeah, that's the book. That's the one I've got. Now, do you know what's interesting actually about Ryan Holiday? Like, and again, I respect him and I buy up any recommendations he has. I like what he writes about. He wrote a big piece on an email about conspiracy theories with what's happening with COVID. And obviously everybody will have seen, you have that certain person that is heavily against, it's not what it seems, it's this, it's that, it's this. Everybody has different opinions on it.
Yeah.
He had a really heavy opinion on one of his emails that one of the worst things you can possibly do is believe a conspiracy like that because it'll ruin your brain. And so he was against the fact that anyone was questioning anything. I think that's how I read it anyway. I mean, if he listens to this podcast, which would be cool if he did, he might have said, no, he didn't mean it in that context. But it did make me think when I read it, I thought, I wouldn't have expected him to have that. I wouldn't have, because he's very knowledgeable, very intelligent, reads a ton of stuff. And he's one of them that's inspired me to read different things. So he might read, so there's a book, The History of Influenza, or The Great Influenza, which is a book that was written about the Spanish flu, which I want to read as well, because it's kind of, it's pretty perfect for what's happening now. But so he reads a diverse set of things, and I thought the more you read, for me, the more you're open-minded to everything. So you know that it isn't just what you're being shown on TV. There's more out there.
Yeah. So
for him to have quite a direct, he almost read like not open-minded at all. That kind of shocked me a bit. I thought, I wouldn't have expected that. I'd have thought you'd have been really open-minded to actually looking at, the facts and figures behind what's being reported and whatnot. So no, that was interesting. And that just goes back to the point earlier about you can have. We're almost in this stage where the differing of opinions is. It does make you step back and go, do I even like what this person's doing then? And then, yeah, I do. I mean, I've just bought another recommendation of his last night. But that, yeah, I suppose it's a weird time. Weird.
It is a weird time, but no, I think that probably gets us to like about the conclusion of this episode. But I guess we went over some of the stuff Nindy said, but not all of it. But it's just one of those things. Like obviously, me and Dave spoke about kind of where our heads at with where everything is, and I think it's just important that we did that here. I think the last thing that we might want to mention is the political race that's just happened, and maybe a little bit on what's happened with Donald Trump. There's some points on here about that. So I don't know, like, what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on?
I don't really know. I don't have an opinion on who should be in charge and who shouldn't, because I don't follow politics that much. And I literally the only thing that made me think about it was something that Peter Schiff had said on a Joe Rogan podcast, and I bought his book Crash Proof, and Crash Proof is about, he predicted the 2008 financial crisis in 2006, so the book was written 2006, but it makes sense of what's happening now. He's written an update, and it just is, you can see what's happened there is just even worse now economically, so we are heading for something at some point. But one thing he said that about presidential who should be in charge. Now, I might be wrong with this might not be fact, because I might be wrong, but I think Peter Schiff did like Trump when Trump went in, because when Obama was in, and again, I don't know all the ins and outs, so I might be wrong, but there was quite a heavy amount of money printing going on, and all of that. It was just, they were bailing out people and whatever.
Yeah.
And Trump's whole argument was, I'm going to drain the swamp, I'm going to go in there, and I know what's wrong. And he was pointing out these things that were wrong, and that, from anybody that looks at it, they are wrong. And he was going to go in and we're going to have to change this, bringing manufacturing back to the US, all these things he had. And Peter Schiff was saying this and said, like, he had the right idea. But what happens is, as soon as that president goes in, it's not about that anymore. They've got the vote. Their attention then, whether it's them personally, their attention, or it's the people around them that move their attention, becomes to, how do I stay in? And they just go into the same mold. Well, I can't mess too much with the economy because I can't because if it crashes, it's my fault. Can't do this, it's my fault. Can't do that. And I think COVID has probably thrown almost a grenade into it all, because it's thrown presidents and leaders around the world to deal with something that others haven't had to deal with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I even think with our leadership with Boris Johnson and the Conservatives, I think that's under threat, because they've turned it political about, is he making the decisions right, is he not? But I think everybody would have made the same sort of decisions. I think anybody who was in there would have.
I think it's hard when there's no right or wrong answer, is there? It's hard when you've got to make a decision where both the outcomes are shit.
Yeah, and you're never going to make everybody happy. So it's
we're
just living in a really weird time. But as far as Biden and Trump, I don't really have any major points on it, because I don't know too much about either of them, really.
Yeah.
What are your views on it? Like, I know that obviously the censorship doesn't feel right, but...
Yeah, the censorship stuff's not good. I think big tech's involvement with politics is so wrong.
Do you mean with, like, voting as well? Like,
yeah.
Because it can sway your vote, can't it, on...
Like, it's really obvious that if you Google anything regarding Donald Trump, it's all negative.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you Googled anything regarding Biden, it's positive. Yeah. It's like, it's clearly skewed in one way, and I don't know why they do that. I don't really care either, but it is obvious that it's there. Censoring Donald Trump and kind of promoting Biden, like, it just seems a little bit odd. But I don't know, I didn't really know much about Donald Trump until like 2 months ago, really.
No, all we really see is just the outlandish.
Yeah, you only kind of see the
memes that get
the media
put together
bits. Yeah. But he done some good stuff. Like he tackled quite a lot of issues that never got mentioned on mainstream media, actually. That I thought were quite good, actually, as a leader. That some of the things that he was tackling were quite important things. So I think he done a good job. Is Biden going to do a good job? I have no idea.
No.
He's got a weird history.
Well, it's just I don't think he can do anything different, but maybe he will. And I think on the social media thing as well, what's interesting about that is I can't remember who I was listening to that talked about this, but they was basically saying it is true. If you look at like a Trump supporter and you see like that image they put on the media of they're stood there, they're really aggressive and whatever, and that's the image the media portray, and it's probably not true. Or it could be, who knows? But if you're on, say, Facebook, and this is where social media literally is the worst. It's counterproductive to humanity in a lot of ways, because if you're a Trump supporter on Facebook, you're going to like all the Trump pages and all the groups and all of that. Then naturally, every piece of information you're going to see is going to be pro-Trump. You're never going to see anything that questions. You'll never see an opinion that questions it, and if you do see an opinion that questions it, it'll be in a negative light. So in your mind, when Trump was saying about the voting being rigged, whether that was the case or not, I don't know, but in your mind as a Trump supporter, that's all you would see on Facebook.
Yeah.
Every day you open it, and they'll be on Facebook, as everybody tends to be every day. That is all you're seeing, so you believe that's got to be true then, because everybody's saying it. But it isn't everybody that's saying it. It's pro-Trump that's saying it. The anti-Trump or whatever, the other side, they've got a different view on it and may have different facts and figures on it, but you never get to see that. And social media controls it. And it's all because they just need your engagement. They need your eyeballs on them apps to serve the ads. That's what it comes down to.
It's a weird... I think what's happening with that, coupled with the COVID thing, is all quite bad timing.
Very.
Because everybody's very uncertain of things. And I think people are easily swayed by what they see on the internet now, because it's what we rely on.
No fact-checking, nothing.
Yeah, it's like what we rely on now.
Yeah.
So if swaying people's opinions and things like that has become really easy, and at a time where everyone's so uncertain about everything, it's not great really, but that's what it is. We're fine. We're just going to crack on as we are over in the UK and just see how we get on really. So yeah, that's it pretty much. Like, do you want to add anything for people that might be kind of thinking about, how should they approach the year? Like with all the uncertainty, like what should someone kind of do, kind of stepping in and trying to get some control?
Look after your mental health, and that starts with exercise for me.
Yeah.
I know obviously you can have a really healthy diet as well, and mine isn't the healthiest diet in the world, but I think if I didn't exercise, I didn't get out and not be glued to my phone or my laptop, my mindset would be totally different. So that would be number one. And then, I don't know, I think I'm just approaching it as in decisions are going to be made without us having any say in it, whether we like it or not. We've just got to try and educate ourselves on past things that have happened, reading, and that's how I'm viewing it. And then just seeing just making sure we're doing the best within what we're trying to build here as well, really. I suppose it's an opportunity for people if they want to go and do something different. Maybe now is the point to do it. I mean, we've been saying that over the past few episodes throughout 2020. Like, maybe this is an opportunity where it's almost interrupted your usual course and existence and said, right, it's time to do something different. Why don't you go and chase that dream or whatever it is you want to do, really?
Yeah, I'd pretty much echo that. I think instead of letting yourself get consumed, I guess, by not knowing what's going on, is probably just use the time to better yourself, find new skills, start a new business or whatever else, really. I mean, what else is there to do now?
So exactly, yeah.
You may as well do something.
It's easy to get glued to everything, all the screens as well, ever more so now because of all the stuff that's going on and the uncertainty. You're looking for somebody to give you an answer.
Yeah.
You turn the news on, you could be turning it on because you want to just see the headlines and be watching it an hour later.
Yeah, exactly.
And your mindset's changed because you're now worried a little bit because all it's talked about is negative on there. Then you go on Facebook and it's the same. Yeah,
100%. All right, cool. Well, that's it for today's episode. If you guys have any questions, just drop us an email or a note or whatever. Make sure you review this episode. Leave us a positive one if you can. And we'll see you in the next episode.